Is it final? Like once you've had LASIK? I mean, I know the technology has changed and I'm sure it will continue to evolve.
Right.
But is this like a every 10-year upkeep or maintenance kind of thing?
No, it's not actually.
Oh.
So that corneal tissue that's removed in the sculpting process cannot grow back. And that's really the whole basis for us even doing the procedure to start with. You know, if it grew back, then we wouldn't be able to do it because it wouldn't have any lasting effect. Our overall enhancement rate, which is how many people need an enhancement after the first procedure, is 4%.
That's it.
So you have a 4% likelihood at some point over the course of your lifetime of needing additional correction.
Welcome to Care Experts, a podcast dedicated to providing the inside scoop on health and self-care.
Make sure you join us each week for candid conversations with wellness and medical specialists.
Yes, real experts here to help you make the best choices for you and your loved ones.
I'm Melissa, a native Texan living in Atlanta.
And I'm Selah, a Californian through and through, and we're your co-hosts.
That's right. We're both proud moms here to have meaningful conversations with experts from all over the country who empower, inform, and inspire.
From cosmetic to dental and vet to vision, this is Care Experts.
Selah, what's up? It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
I know why you're doing that.
I know.
It's because we're talking about our eyes today, and we're talking about LASIK
I mean,
today.
it's a good joke.
I mean, it is very good. You're very punny.
Oh, well, thank you.
And you can joke about it because you have experienced it, so it's not scary to you at all, right? And I think some people are like, LASIK, oh, what are they? They're doing something with my eyeballs.
No.
Well,
It's hands down
There
the
you
best thing I have ever chosen to
Really?
do. Besides have children, yes.
why?
Because I can see. My eyes are perfect. Like, I literally can see
That's
perfectly
so,
still.
And it's been 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a
I mean,
very long
imagine how
time.
much technology has changed in those last 15 years. Because I was told, as a person who does not have perfect vision, I wear daily disposable contact lenses, that I was not a good candidate for LASIK. But that was at least 15 years ago.
Right.
That
Well,
an optometrist told me that.
I'm sure so much has changed. And that's what
For
we're going
sure.
to find out today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about LASIK with a LASIK expert, right? That's
Exactly.
Dr. Dean Ellis, MD, who is board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology.
Yes, he received his medical degree in ophthalmology from the University of North Carolina and is a diplomat of the National Board of Medical Examiners and a fellow of the American Academy of Ophthalmology.
And here is the thing that I think really sticks out about Dr. Ellis. He, since 1998, has performed more than 104,000, it's very specific.
Incredible.
LASIK procedures.
Yeah.
Which makes him one of the most experienced LASIK surgeons in the Midwest.
I know, and
So he's the person we should be
knowledgeable.
talking to about
exactly.
this. Like, he's the medical expert.
He's
for
literally the
LASIK.
expert
Yeah, he
for
really is.
LASIK.
And the thing about it is, I want to just take away that stigma from LASIK of like, oh my gosh, it's my eyeballs. Oh, I don't know. you know?
Yes, do you want to
And-
take away that astigmatism?
Ah,
I got it again.
Very funny today.
Thank you.
I really like
But
that.
truthfully,
Yeah.
you were told you weren't allowed to have LASIK because
Because I have astigmatism, right? That's
Exactly.
what they said, and
So I'm
and I'm
curious.
nearsighted, right? But my eyes keep changing, right? That's the other thing. Like, once you get
Right.
older, right?
Well, that's
so
why
many
my
questions.
husband had to get it twice for that reason.
And you can do that.
Yes.
I mean, I guess so. If he did it,
yeah.
right?
So let's find out why though, because I never knew why he had to get it twice.
Right, and I want to know from Dr. Ellis, like, how invasive is LASIK, and is it like what you see on TV? Is it like, oh my gosh, it's blurry, and now I can see
No,
it?
it
How
is.
quick?
I can
Like,
tell
what
you it
they're
is.
So,
because it
that's-
happened to me. I
well,
literally walked out with perfect
That's
vision.
incredible.
Incredible.
Wow.
So let's find out all about it and share
Let's
with
do
you
that.
guys.
Yeah, let's bring in Dr. Dean Ellis.
Yeah. Hello, Dr. Ellis.
Dr. Dean
Whoa.
Ellis in the heezy.
Yes.
I'm saying it like that because I already feel like we're like cool.
Yeah,
You know?
Yes.
you're cool.
Dr. Ellis, you are a very prolific. You've done over 100,000 LASIK eye surgeries.
Wow.
That's correct.
That's amazing.
You're board certified by the American Board of Ophthalmology, and you went to the University of North Carolina. Go Tar Heels!
Tar Heels.
Oh, I didn't know Tar Heels.
That's right.
Okay. You're located in Kansas City, Missouri.
That's
No,
correct.
Kansas City, Kansas.
Right.
There you go. There you go. There you go. But you're one of the most experienced LASIK practitioners, surgeons in the world.
Right. Yeah. LASIK is my primary focus. That's what I do the most.
Okay.
when you're not performing surgery, LASIK surgery, what do you like to do?
Yeah. Well, I'm an outdoorsy guy. I love to be outdoors and, tennis. I've really gotten into pickleball lately.
Oh, you're one of
You're the pickleball
those.
craze.
Yeah, it's taking the world by storm.
Yes, it is.
It is so much fun. It's great exercise, and it's a very social game.
Yep.
You really get to know the people you're playing, and so I really enjoy doing that.
That's so cool.
Are you good?
Yeah, are you good at it?
I play a lot. Our group is competitive.
Oh, I love it.
It's a
I love
great
it.
workout.
It is a good
You will
workout.
sweat
I've never
from head to toe.
played.
I haven't
wanna
either, but
play.
I've seen people sweat.
No, and everybody talks about it. Everybody talks about it.
Yeah, they think it's all just for oldsters, but it's not.
Oh, no.
Uh-uh.
A fun fact, I'm the voice of the USAA pickleball commercial.
Of
That's
course
my
you are.
voice. Yeah.
Wow.
And I know that it is for young people and older people. It's
Yes.
for all ages.
Absolutely. It's so much fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have one son?
I have one son.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 25. He lives in New York. He is an opera singer. He works at Juilliard.
Opera singer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so he's going to be performing in Europe this summer. And so
That's
very excited.
amazing.
Now, why did you decide to become an ophthalmologist?
Oh, good question.
Well, when you're in medical school, you get to try a little bit of a lot of different specialties. And ophthalmology really sells itself. I mean, it's a dynamic, high-tech field. It's constantly evolving. It really keeps me intellectually challenged. And so much of what we see in ophthalmology, we can treat readily with a procedure that may only take 5 minutes and can dramatically affect someone's quality of vision and their quality of life.
Yeah.
And that's just fantastic. I'll give you an example.
Please.
With the LASIK procedure, we can take someone who's been wearing glasses since they were in 2nd grade, right? They may not ever remember a time when they could see clearly without glasses. After a 10-minute procedure, they get up off the table and they can see the clock across the room for the first time in their life.
Exactly.
And sometimes they are overwhelmed with joy. They burst into tears. They give me a big hug.
I love this.
Who gets that in their job
That's
on
right.
a regular basis? Right?
So
Changing
true.
lives,
Well,
making
especially
people
as a
see. It is
surgeon,
incredible.
when
Yeah.
people are usually like in pain after surgery and like,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's maybe a bad thing, but
Right.
this is such a good thing,
Yeah,
and it's
quality
so
of life.
life changing. I know personally
Me too.
how. Right? Did you have LASIK?
I
as
had
well?
LASIK myself.
Really?
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
How long ago did you have yours?
Yeah.
Selah.
Oh, me? Oh, yeah. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, yeah,
Doctor.
Yeah, when you have your Dr. Ellis.
Well, that
You
is
too.
Yeah, both of us. I think mine was now. I want to say 15 years ago, maybe 16.
Right.
Yeah, and it was life changing because
Right.
I started with glasses around 10 or 11. Then I started with contacts. I want to say in junior high, so a long time with contacts, and my eyes just got drier and drier and drier to the point where if I was on stage as an actress or in front of the camera, I'd have to have a moment in a scene playing a character where I would turn and get my eyes wet, which is completely horrible
Right.
in my profession.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, it was life changing.
Yeah, and you've had great vision ever since, right?
Perfect vision.
Yeah.
No problems whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I hated glasses and contacts. Really, for me as an eye doctor, it got in the way of practicing my profession. There are times when I'm using instruments where glasses really got in the way. I would try to do it without glasses, and that didn't work very well either, right?
It's a mistake.
So I had my LASIK, and yeah, it's been amazing. Drying of the eyes is a very common reason to have LASIK because, that contact lens acts like a sponge on the surface of your eye, kind of stealing that moisture that you're producing, especially for jobs where you're on the computer a lot and that sort of thing.
It's really dry.
So, yeah, we know over time you'll be a lot less symptomatic from dry eyes if you've had the LASIK procedure.
It's life giving. You're
Right.
giving
Yeah.
people back their lives. It's incredible. Their
Yeah.
vision.
Freedom from glasses and contacts. Yeah.
So, and in fact, you have given this gift of sight to so many people in third world countries all over the world. Can you talk about a little your volunteer work?
Right. Well, it's primarily here in the U.S. It's a program
Okay.
called Eye Care America, and it is intended to be for those who are medically more needy. They can't afford appropriate eye care, and so they're able to come see us free of charge.
What does that do for you?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a way to kind of give back, to use my skills to help someone. And we know our vision is one of our most valuable assets,
Absolutely.
right? So anything I can do to help those is really
Well, and also you're taking a cost away from them from glasses, contacts that they don't need anymore. That's amazing.
right. Yeah, over time, it's very cost effective
Yes.
to have LASIK because you don't have that expense any longer.
Exactly. That's amazing that you do that.
So, for people who have never heard of LASIK before, what is LASIK?
Right.
Break it down.
Break it down. Right. Well, I think it's good to kind of start a little bit with how the eye works. And that
Please.
might make it a little easier to
Sure.
understand. So the eye, as you can imagine, is like a camera, right? Light comes in through the front. The cornea is that clear window on the front surface of your eye. So that's kind of the glassy part that you see when you're talking to someone in front of the colored part. So it comes through the cornea, it goes through the pupil, through the lens, where it's focused back onto the retina. Now, there is a central part of your retina called the macula, and then there's a central part of that macula called the fovea. Well, in order for you to see clearly, light rays have to be focused exactly on that point. If they deviate from that point, things are fuzzy, right? So with nearsightedness, some people get confused on this, but that
Yeah,
means...
they
I
switch
actually
it.
know it. I actually
Yeah.
know it.
Right.
No, explain it. Explain
Yeah,
it.
it means you see better up close than you do at a distance. And there are varying degrees of nearsightedness. I mean, some people who are very nearsighted, it's like, this is clear and that's fuzzy.
Wow.
That's
Right.
where I've gotten to.
Okay.
We'll
Right.
talk about that later.
Yeah. So with nearsightedness, what's happening inside the eye is those light rays, instead of focusing on the fovea, that important part, they focus in front of it. And so the eye may be a little too long, or the cornea may be a little too steep for that eye. And so the underlying principle of LASIK is actually very simple. All we're doing is just using a very low intensity light to sculpt the cornea, to reshape it so that those light rays go back onto the fovea where you can see your best.
Oh, wow.
Now, farsightedness is just the opposite. So farsightedness, the cornea is too flat, or the eye is a little shorter than it should be. So in that case, we use that same laser to make the cornea steeper and focus those light rays where they should be. Now, astigmatism, it's interesting. A lot of people think, well, I can't have LASIK because I have astigmatism. That's from way back when we first started doing LASIK.
Oh.
What? 'Cause
Okay,
that's
wait
what
a
I've always
minute.
been told, Dr. Ellis,
Right.
because I have astigmatism.
Right.
I've worn contact lenses for as long as I can remember, contact lenses or glasses since I'm like 12, I think, and I'm way over 12 now. But I was told a long time ago, I can't tell you exactly when, that I wasn't a good candidate for LASIK, so
Right.
I just figured I'm going to be in contacts and glasses for the rest of my life, and was like, well,
Right.
all right.
Well, that's right. Well, in the early days of laser vision correction, we couldn't correct astigmatism, but the technology has come a long way since then. And actually now we know LASIK is the single best way to correct astigmatism.
How? Why did it change?
Yeah.
Well,
Great question.
Yeah, I think I'm
question,
curious.
Selah.
You
Let me
know,
tell
we're
you.
like all
Thank
into it.
well, first of all, let's talk about what astigmatism really means, because really it means that the front surface of the eye, instead of being round like a basketball, is more like the side of a football. So it has, so it has one axis that is steeper, and then the opposite axis is flatter. So it's a bit irregular in shape.
Okay.
Well, with that same laser, we can flatten the steep axis and steepen the flat axis so that we create a round spherical shape to the eye so that all of those light rays focus onto one point on the fovea so that you can see properly.
Oh, that makes
You are so good at
sense.
painting a picture.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
am
absolutely.
visualizing this, and I hope for our audience as well. It's really breaking it down to like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, football, basketball.
Right.
I get that. Okay, continue,
So
continue,
Melissa
Dr.
can
Ellis.
get LASIK now, actually.
She can get LASIK, and
He wants to do a full exam though,
Oh, okay, great.
which I
That's
think is,
right.
I mean, that's
that
the
makes
medical
sense.
way. We
Yeah.
should do it
Yeah.
that way.
yeah, and really with contact lenses, it's kind of more of an off the rack type of correction. So we know what your prescription is, but then we have to choose within certain powers of astigmatic correction and try to kind of get it as close as possible to what you really need. But with LASIK, we don't have to do that. It's
my
bespoke. It is specific to your exact prescription.
It's amazing.
That's.
Yeah.
You're blowing my mind right now, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to ask again. I just accepted
because-
as fact that
exactly.
when someone told me, not just someone, but a doctor
Right.
told me that I wasn't eligible for that or not a good candidate, that was now and forever,
Right,
not
right,
just
right.
for now
But
or
it's
back then.
amazing how
Right.
much changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
no one can
technology.
really tell you a candidate until they've done the whole workup.
Sure.
Right. Then it's just, it's not really a opinion based on anything, no real science.
Right.
So the other interesting thing is that now with the current technology, we take an image of your iris, right? So your iris is like a fingerprint, right? It's unique to you. It can be used for
really?
security purposes, right?
Oh,
Oh,
that's
right,
right.
yeah.
Digital ID at the
Digital-
airport.
yeah.
Digital ID.
Or your Face ID, right? Is that the
Oh
same?
yeah,
It's-
maybe kind of.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we use that image of your iris to we match that when we're doing the correction. the laser and the computer that drives that laser will match those images so that it makes sure that your correction is precisely on the exact degree of your astigmatism, right? That can't be done with either glasses or contacts. And in fact, contacts, they tend to dry out, they rotate a little bit.
Yes.
They may not be exactly the right correction. So it's not uncommon for us to get vision that's better than what you would see with your contacts.
Mine was better. I can't remember what it was now, but it was like whatever 20/20 was, and then mine was, 21. I don't know.
Right.
What does the consultation process look like for someone who is interested in LASIK
Right.
and you determining as the doctor if that's the best course of
How do you
action for them?
assess everything?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Since the pandemic, it has really accelerated the use of telemedicine. So nowadays, we can get started even before you come into our center.
What?
Yeah, we can talk to you about, if you know your prescription, kind of what your visual needs are, tell you a little bit more about what to expect, the cost involved, financing, CareCredit, whatever you might need. Then when you come into the center, it's a very thorough process because we want to make sure you are an excellent candidate, right? Safety is our primary concern with LASIK. And so about 15% of all patients are not candidates for one reason or another. So there's a criteria that we go through. The first one is your age, right? So you have to be at least 18 years of age. There's no upper age limit. Some people think, well, I'm too old for LASIK, but I've actually treated patients in their 80s before.
Really?
And there's no such thing as too young because
There is too young. At least.
But I know you said 18, but
yeah.
Okay, so my husband had to get his redone because they said he got it too young before his eye had finished developing. He was like 24 when he first got it.
Right.
Is that true?
Well, we feel like that by the mid-20s, the changes that are occurring within the eye are stable.
Okay.
But we do look, that is another one of the criteria that we look for, is has the vision been changing significantly over the past year or two? So if you see a trend, right, if you can see that the prescription is increasing 1 year over the next, that's not a good time to get the procedure.
Okay.
Okay.
But the good news is, if that does happen, then just like in the case of your husband, it can be touched up over time. So even though we feel like the eyes may be stable, if they do change a little bit over time, they can be touched up. And that can happen at any time. I will tell you, I've had patients that I've treated 25 years ago that come back and need a little touch-up. And
So it's
we
just
can do that.
A touch-up because he had to do the whole surgery all over again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a 5-minute procedure.
It's still, right. Okay,
5
tell
minutes?
us about that.
Yeah, okay. Did you finish explaining what it was like, though, the consultation and like the...
Yes.
Because I know we're jumping in.
Scratching the surface.
Oh,
Okay, let's go
ahead, my
back.
bad.
Go back.
So, then there is a range of prescriptions that we can treat that's been approved by the FDA for the specific laser that we're using. And so if you look at your glasses prescription, or if you look at the number on your box of contact lenses, it will tell you if you're nearsighted or farsighted. That's the first number. So if that number is a negative number, you're nearsighted. If the first number is a positive number, if it has a plus in front of it, then you're farsighted. The second... Yeah.
Learning so much, Dr.
I
Ellis.
know.
Go on.
Now, if you have astigmatism, then the second number will be the amount of astigmatism that you have, right? It's measured in diopters, which is a metric measurement. We don't need to get into the technical part of that, but just to know that the bigger the number, the more nearsighted or farsighted you are, or more astigmatism. So LASIK will correct up to a +6 farsightedness, up to a -14 nearsightedness, and up to a -6 astigmatism. Now, that doesn't mean that every -14 is going to be a good candidate. There's the whole rest of the exam that we have to do to make sure that everything else looks good. So there's a range. We want it to be stable. We want it to be the right age. And then we look very carefully at the health of the eye, right? We look at the cornea. Dryness is a consideration. If the eyes are super dry, they may not be a good candidate for LASIK. We look for any other sign of anything that may be interfering with the quality of the vision that might make them a poor candidate. Cataract, problem in the retina. There is a condition called keratoconus, where the cornea can thin over time. It runs in families. It's more common in certain cultures. India, Southeast Asia, more common to have keratoconus. Those individuals usually don't respond well to LASIK, and we use a very sophisticated computerized analysis of the cornea to look at problems like that. So we can measure the front surface of the cornea, the back surface of the cornea. We look at the corneal thickness throughout the entirety of the cornea, just to look for any kind of irregularity, anything that would say there's some instability there that might not respond well to the procedure. Then we look at your overall health, right? Because there are certain medical conditions that might make you a poor candidate for the procedure. For example, if you have advanced diabetes, There can be changes in the back part of your eye. Certain types of arthritis are a consideration. They don't necessarily mean you're not a candidate, but we would want to know about that and make sure your exam looked good. So if the medical exam looks good, the eye exam, that corneal analysis looks good, your corneal thickness is important, right? So if you're a high correction, we know that when we do that sculpting of the cornea that we're going to be removing a little bit of the corneal tissue. So we don't want to make the cornea too thin, because at that point it could start to lose its structural integrity and it could start to lose its shape. That's a condition known as corneal ectasia. We've gotten so sophisticated nowadays at screening for that it is extremely rare, but it can occur, and that's one of the things we look for to make sure you're a good candidate.
It almost sounds like the consultation plus examination lasts longer than actually getting the LASIK surgery, right? Like,
good
what
point.
Absolutely
doesn't it sound that way?
I mean, yeah,
But
I
you keep saying
remember
5 minutes. I'm
my
like,
surgery was
Right.
so quick. I remember that, and I did not feel a thing. And can you talk a little bit?
Yeah,
about
what does
that?
the surgery actually
Yeah.
involve? LASIK surgery.
Well, I think the main thing to remember is don't sweat it, right? People get so worked up about it. It's your eyes,
Yeah.
the fear of the unknown.
That part.
Right.
Yeah.
For some people, watching a video can be helpful. There's a website called LASIK.com where you
Okay.
can get your questions answered. You can watch a quick video of the procedure. That may be helpful. And it can also connect you with a network of physicians like myself that are highly experienced and use the best technology. But when you're coming into the office, you will go through some paperwork. And then a lot of times nowadays, we do the procedure and the exam on the same day.
Oh.
So if you've had that telemedicine consult, then you know what to expect. We've already got it scheduled, and it saves you a trip to the office.
That's amazing.
So we'll complete the exam, and then you can get a light sedative if you want. We use numbing drops on the surface of the eye. And remember that it's an all laser technique, right? So we don't use anything sharp. Really, the only thing that does anything during the procedure is light. My role, of course, I have to have my experience to plan the procedure, but the actual technical part of doing the procedure, from my perspective, is one of the simplest procedures that we have in medicine. It's computer controlled, right? So there's 2 steps. So the first step, we make a very thin flap of the corneal tissue.
That's the part that scares me.
With
Yeah.
the laser.
With the laser, that's right, and it's computer controlled, right?
Exactly.
And so it's extremely safe, very reliable. Now, the reason we make that flap, when I first started doing laser vision correction back in the mid-90s, we didn't do it that way. We applied the laser directly to the surface of the eye. We would remove the epithelium and then reshape the front part of the eye. But when we do that, it has to heal, that epithelium has to grow back. And during that time, it can be a little more discomfort. The visual recovery is a little slower. So the modern technique of LASIK actually was a confluence of technologies that came together in a 2-step process. So we make that thin flap of corneal tissue so that we can do the reshaping underneath the flap.
I'm listening.
Yeah,
But I think that part probably scares people. Like
When you say the flap, like, because all I'm
right?
thinking about, it's my eye,
Right.
it's a laser,
Uh-huh.
and it flaps. Like, I'm just, you know.
I know it.
But
It definitely sounds scary.
It sounds scarier
Yeah.
than it actually is. You can continue explaining, but I know people who are listening are like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the part that I'm like cringy about. Yeah.
Well, remember, it is minimally invasive. So the laser that's making the flap is calibrated to within 1 micron. Okay,